So I've been gone all weekend. Did anything happen? Did I miss something around the college football world? Seems as though I did. We're gonna be here for a little bit today. Welcome in the Armchair Analysis. It's Monday, October 13th, 2025, and a lot broke over the weekend. Now, unfortunately, I was out. I had some family stuff to attend to, a wedding to attend to. Um, we can have our conversations about fall weddings another time, but nonetheless, I had to be out for the weekend. So we didn't have a live show Saturday. We didn't have a live show Sunday. We didn't even get a show out Friday just because of the kind of um, the amount of stuff that needed to be done. So with that said, we return. Thank you all so much for the support, though. If you're new around here, please leave a like, subscribe. We're here pretty consistently, about every day of the week, at least is the intention. And we've got a lot of stuff here to talk about. We got a new top 25 today. We're going to talk about the future of Penn State after firing James Franklin. And yeah, if you didn't already know him, have been under a rock maybe for the last couple of days, James Franklin was fired from Penn State after losing to Northwestern on Saturday. We'll talk about the future of Penn State and what could be next going forward for them. But first, let's go ahead and talk about this new top 25 because I think that'll take a little less time. It's pretty similar to what we had last week, just some significant changes. And Penn State was already dropped completely out, but stays completely out. Texas stays out, even though they beat Oklahoma, and I'm going to explain a little bit of my thought process there as well. You look at some teams that have jumped in: USF, Cincinnati, Houston. Michigan stays in. Why does Michigan stay in? I'll explain that a little bit more as we go as well. But overall, this is what we have after 7 weeks of college football, and it's been a blast. We've had a lot of fun. This has been a good year so far. A lot of interesting storylines that continue to develop as we go throughout the course of time. So let's go ahead and get into this one. Start with number one. Ohio State remains. Big win, dominating win over Illinois. There's really no need to drop them until we see otherwise. This is a team that's played really good football so far this year, and really looks like one of the best teams, if not the best team in college football. There's no reason to not leave them there until we see otherwise. At number two, we got Miami. They have arguably the best resume and continue to win football games. And really, this year it's about winning football games. If you continue to win, you're going to continue to rise. Miami sits at two. Indiana continuing to win, building up an impressive resume, especially with that win on the road against Oregon and the dominating win over Illinois. They have certainly announced their presence. Hey, we are not going anywhere, which nobody expected or many people didn't expect. But they've certainly made it very clear they're not going anywhere. Texas A&M and Texas Tech round out 4 and 5. Love both these teams. Texas Tech is the best team in the Big 12, and it's not particularly close right now. That team is going to go a very long way, and I don't think they're just the best team in the Big 12. I genuinely believe that they're a top 5 team in the country. Therefore, that's where they're at, because we see other undefeated teams on this list, on this top 25, that are not ranked this high. This Texas Tech team is legit, and we're going to see that as the year continues to go on. Alabama at number 6, and it's coming down to a very similar storyline. They are legit. They continue to win games no matter who they're playing, no matter where they're playing. They just went on the road and beat a really good Missouri team that I continue to rank in my top 15 for a reason. Alabama is going to continue to rise, and they look like they might be one of the best teams in the country. Ole Miss has played well. They struggled against Washington State. A 24-21 victory, that's the biggest reason Alabama jumps over top of them. But they continue to win football games, and doing so the way they've done it. Nothing wrong with it. I think that Washington State game's a little weird, an interesting spot in the season, a place where maybe you could get caught sleepwalking. They'll bounce back next week. I'm almost positive of it. Oregon at number 8. Really hard to be upset with them. I mean, they played, I don't think it was their best game on Saturday, but still hung around. We're still only lose by 10 points, and I say only lose by 10 points. This Indiana team, again, is legit. That's their only loss since the top 3 team. Oregon goes to number 8. LSU at 9. Like what they did last week, they fought through some adversity, turnovers, other issues, and still were able to win and cover against South Carolina at home. So LSU at 9. Georgia Tech at 10. I could probably interchange those two, Georgia Tech and LSU. I really like what they're doing. Haynes King's been fantastic, playing a really good brand of football. Georgia Tech, I think, is pretty legit, but I just don't know how much I'm buying in yet. I'm really buying more into Haynes King is still healthy for the time being. Georgia at 11. They have yet to really have that very impressive win. We'll kind of see what the Tennessee-Alabama game looks like. Maybe that boosts them up a little bit, but right now Georgia just kind of sits in this almost no man's land for the moment. But 11, still a really good team, still a playoff team in my mind. Notre Dame is the best two-loss team in the country. It's not particularly close, and I think they could beat probably, I don't know, 80% of this top 25, even now. I think CJ Carr is the best freshman labeled quarterback, redshirt or true freshman, best freshman quarterback in college football. And they continue to score a lot of points, and their defense is getting better as the year goes on. This is a team that's going to be dangerous, and if they can win out, there's a chance that the way the chaos has fallen this year, Notre Dame still makes the playoff. Oklahoma at 13. Look, I'm going to blame coaching more than playing the players in this game, the way that Texas game went. A very big mistake to let John Mateer play. I don't really know why there was no confidence to let Michael Hawkins be the guy. It really does beat me. We'll see what happens this weekend. I'll be in attendance of their game this weekend in Williams-Brice Stadium at South Carolina, so we'll get a very big up close and first-hand look at what Oklahoma is going to be and what they're going to do. Because if they do that again this week, it's very possible they walk out of Williams-Brice with a loss. I think the South Carolina team is motivated. They've made some changes themselves that we'll talk about. Specifically, Sean Elliott is now the offensive line coach. They're excited about that change. They think it's going to make a difference. And if it truly does make a difference, we could see a big change early in this game here where South Carolina may go out and just pull that upset. Missouri at 14, talked about them. I think they're a really good team. I don't have a whole lot else to say. I think they're a fringe playoff team. BYU, if they keep winning, there won't be any problems. But right now, I'm just still a little bit reserved on what they are and who they are. They've proven it time and time again, but a close win against Arizona on the road, we'll see what happens. I still think there's just going to be a time where they just get caught. Vandy at 16, they keep winning. Hard to be upset with where they're sitting right now at 16. USC moves up to 17. That was from 24 last week. Hard to say whether I think this is an indictment of Michigan or USC. Proud of that USC team, though. They played a really good game on Saturday night and truly dominated the Michigan running attack, which is something that we haven't seen a USC team do, is really be physical in the run game. They took care of business on Saturday night. So USC at 17. Tennessee stays at 18. I'm just really selling on their defense right now. I think the offense is good. I think they'll be able to win a bunch of games. Probably get to, again, 8-4, maybe 9-3. But the defense is really hurting them right now, and I think it's not going to make much difference on Saturday either. Memphis at 19 continues to rise as that group of 5 team. I don't really know how to explain my thoughts on Memphis. Like, I think they could make a difference in the playoff. I think they could be one of the few teams that might actually compete in a playoff game out of the group of 5. So we'll see. That's a team of interest for me. Utah at 20. They keep getting better. They're playing so much better than they did in that Texas Tech game. The offensive line looks good. The defensive line looks really good. Just kind of dominating the biggest points of attack. Utah, impressive. Looks to move up further. I think they have Holy War this week. I have to check the schedule. I've been out. I got to get my head back on a swivel, back in the game, if you will. Michigan at 21. Look, this is really just me thinking that USC is that good, or potentially that good. This is subject to change based on what USC does the rest of the way through and what Michigan does. I mean, if they come out against Washington and do the exact same thing, they're dropping out, and they're not going to come back in. This is a team that I'm slowly losing faith on what they're going to be able to do. Virginia at 22, they look, it's kind of just a simple story. Keep winning football games. They've done a really good job so far, impressed a lot of people, surprised a lot of people. We'll see what Virginia does. Cincinnati at 23. That impressive win against Iowa State was one thing. They continue to really just answer the bell as we go on. They dominated UCF, a late touchdown, made that game look much closer than it was. Cincinnati's a team that I think is going to really have a bit of a say down the stretch here. USF at 24. Look, they're 5-1. They keep winning football games, and they dominate their football games as of late. So, really looking forward to that. This matchup that we seem to be heading towards of Memphis and USF. We'll see where that lines up when it comes to it. And then Houston at 25. I like this Houston team, and I've really been kind of carefully optimistic on where I think of them. I really like this team. And as teams continue to lose and other teams continue to win football games, and Houston's loss coming to Texas Tech, a top 5 team, but I don't want to say they did what they were expected to do, but they played well for a half in that game. I know that seems very condescending, but they did. They played well for a half, and then Texas Tech did what Texas Tech's done to everybody they've played. This Houston team, I think, is a really solid team. I think they belong in the top 25, at least in the back half. So that's where we land on the top 25. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who I may have missed. I know a lot of Texas fans are going to be pissed, and I'm sorry, but I just don't fully buy into that yet. But with that said, let's go ahead and talk a little more serious here. Penn State fired James Franklin yesterday after 11 and a half seasons. That was game 6. They're now 3-3 on the year. 11 and a half years at Penn State with a record of 104-45. That sounds like a good record. It really does. It sounds like a good record. I took a deeper dive into that. I decided, hey, what is this conference record? Because a lot of people aren't talking about that. 64-36 is the conference record, which is just below a 75% winning percentage. I think it's around 70. And it's not bad, but it's not what you expect from Penn State, especially with what we saw the last 3 years, a few other 10-win seasons. You kind of forget that there were some down years in this span too, some 7-6s, a 4-5 in the COVID year. This Penn State team has had their ups and downs over the course of time, and it obviously comes with players and personnel and coaching changes and things like that. But the one thing that stayed the same is Penn State losing the big game, and he only had one win versus a top 10 opponent in his entire tenure at Penn State. Now, in saying that, this is a team that also had 6 10-win seasons in his 11 seasons, his 11 full seasons as a head coach. They had 3 straight 10-win seasons from 2022 to 2024. 2016 Big Ten champions, left out of the playoffs that year, but they were Big Ten champs who went on to lose the Rose Bowl that season. And then they lost last year to Notre Dame in the college football playoff semifinals, the closest they've been to a national championship in a very long time. As for what this team is, this year has been disappointing. I mean, this is a team that followed the blueprint that Michigan and Ohio State laid out. Very simply laid out for them as well. Retain your best players going into their 4th or 5th years, some even 6 with the COVID rule. And really do your work. Take care of business when it matters, and then come out in these games, especially your home games that you get against teams like Oregon and Indiana, and take care of business in those games, and you're a playoff team, because your non-conference schedule isn't going to help you. They lost to Oregon in overtime. A valiant comeback, and I said, you know what? I don't think this team's dead yet. I don't think they're going anywhere yet. We come out the next week, and we watch them really just sleepwalk the beginning of the game. They let UCLA drive down the field immediately. Now, granted, this is a brand new UCLA coaching staff. They changed up a lot of personnel. Jerry Neuheisel takes over as the offensive coordinator, and has been really good, by the way. We'll talk more about them another time. But takes over, and the UCLA offense looks so much different. And they hang 42 on this Penn State defense, and we're like, okay, it's eye-opening. But maybe UCLA looks like a different team. Well, both of those things turn out to be a little bit true, because UCLA dominates Michigan State this week. I mean, controls Michigan State in East Lansing on a 9 a.m. kickoff. That's something that when I talked to BJ last Sunday, BJ's here on Saturdays and Sundays. When I talked to him last Sunday, we had a heated debate about what UCLA might be going forward, about how this game would look for Penn State should they continue to win football games. Well, then they play Northwestern at home. Okay, you can excuse going out west and losing the game out west, travel, you're messed up on your time, sure, even though you played a 6 p.m. a 3:30 p.m. kick Eastern time, local time, a 12 p.m. kick local time in the Pacific. Like, you were awake and you were ready for that game. You come back home and you play Northwestern as 22.5 point favorites. Now, I don't think anybody particularly expected them to cover 22.5 because the offense hasn't been good enough, and truth be told, Northwestern's covered a lot more than people would expect. That's a 4-2 team right now, by the way, surprisingly. The way they started, Preston Stone's turnover issues, this is a 4-2 team. But to get back on the track of Penn State, they go out and they're up 21-16 late in that game. Northwestern drives down, scores a touchdown, misses the 2-point conversion. It becomes a 22-21 football game. Excuse me. Okay. Anyways, it becomes a 22-21 football game. And Penn State's not able to answer. Drew Aller also gets hurt and is now done for the year. Things have spiraled for the last 3 weeks for this Penn State team, and it's culminated and really capped off by that Drew Aller injury, which we wish him a speedy recovery, of course. We're excited. Hopefully he'll be able to be back by the time the combine happens, because I think he's a solid player. I think that with proper coaching, he could be a better quarterback. But nonetheless, here we sit. This is going to be a very pivotal hire for this Penn State program. Adidas has offered to foot the bill for that $45 million buyout, which is nice. Nice of Adidas, especially being that that's the new branding for Penn State. So what do they do now? Well, for right now, it's led to Terry Smith, the wide receiver coach, now going to be the interim head coach for the next 6 games. Whatever happens from here on out, really doesn't matter. The season's over for them. They've established that. This team, should they win all 6 straight that they have to go, might be a playoff team, might be considered such, but it's going to take some miracles. I don't really think it's going to happen. This team went from looking at maybe 10-2, 11-1, to now looking at 7-5 again. It was 7-5 3 years ago, back in 2021, 4 years ago. The names that are popping up are pretty obvious. Matt Rule is name number 1. Penn State alum, huge Penn State fan. Has also worked with this group, this athletic director, when he was at Temple. Matt Rule seems to be the name for the job. And while he said he's committed to Nebraska, we've heard these stories before. I'm not counting anything out until it happens. Matt Rule, I think, is name number 1 on that list, and for rightful reason. Name number 2 sits in Bloomington, Indiana right now. Kurt Signetti. You can't deny what he's done at Indiana, and he's doing that without any 5 stars, and as far as I'm aware, maybe less than a handful, if not 0, 4 stars. Indiana's doing their business too. Another name I saw, which would be an interesting route, it would be pretty interesting from my perspective anyways, Clark Leah, coming over from Vanderbilt potentially. Why would that be interesting to me? Well, we remember James Franklin was hired from Vanderbilt. And, it didn't turn out too bad for Penn State. Obviously, they'd like to win more games, but I think Clark Leah is a better coach than James Franklin. I think Clark Leah's got a better future than James Franklin. And truth be told, I think that's a place that would garner some success. I've said it before, I think Clark Leah is going to be a national championship winning head coach at some point, and especially if he continues to progress. I don't think he'll do it at Vandy, but if he progresses forward and goes to some blue blood school, we're talking about a very dangerous position as a head coach. I would be really excited to see how that turns out. No matter what it is, I think it's going to be Matt Rule. That's the vibe I'm getting. That's the feel I'm getting. But I don't know. Nobody really knows, unless maybe there's a few people here and there. But nobody really knows what's going to happen. We'll see. But it's a big story developed out of State College, and I think it's the one that we're certainly going to keep our eyes on. So thought it was worth talking about now. Just how does Penn State move forward? Let me know what you guys think. Who would you like to see as the next head coach at the Penn State University? Some other news, very briefly. Oregon State's fired Trent Bray after an 0-7 start to the season. They would certainly love to have tried to keep Jonathan Smith, I think, at this point. The Malik Murphy experiment has not worked out particularly well, and honestly, this entire thing has not worked out really well. So, Oregon State searching once again for a new head coach, only a couple years after losing Jonathan Smith. So, we'll see what they end up doing. New look for the Pac-12 next year. We'll see how that transpires. So, with all that said, I thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Good start to the week. Hope you all enjoyed your weekend. Stayed safe. We got some game previews coming up again throughout the week. Not sure exactly who we're going to get on yet, but you'll see them as they come out. So, thank you all so much. Hope you all have, again, a good rest of your night. And we will see you tomorrow with another episode of Armchair Analysis.